The last hidden reason that people relapse is small compromises beforehand. So small actions, micro decisions that lead to a bigger relapse. So it's scrolling, it's the fantasy, right? In your thoughts, isolating yourself, staying up late, harmless content, quote unquote, harmless. So it's the things that, in my view, honestly, people should see that as the relapse.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Love, Life, and Legacy, the podcast dedicated to helping you navigate these hypersexualized times. Does anybody know what that song was referencing? Does anybody know? It's a really good song. Anyway, today Benji and I are unpacking the 3 hidden triggers behind relapses. There are common themes that we've seen across the board, reasons why people end up relapsing. And the unfortunate reality is most people are a mystery to themselves. They do not understand why they do what they do. And so they end up doing things that are confounding to themselves, which is just really weird, right? It doesn't make any sense until it does. And we'll help you make it make sense. So please listen and we'll have fun if you have fun. Promise. Benji is back, and I'm back with Benji. Build back better with Benji. We're going to build your sexual integrity back better with Benji.
Let's do it.
Baby,
Andrew.
So, Benji and I just did like a check-in. So we've like really explored each other's souls. And we kind of ran out of things to say because we said it all. So we're just going to dispense with the pleasantries. We're going to get right into the topic today. We want to do these kind of things. You guys let us know what you think. Very specific topics based on what you guys are struggling with. In the past, we've been doing this podcast, I think, since before the pandemic. So like late 2019 is when we really got serious with this. So it's been 6 years. And,
long time.
It's always been like giving people a perspective into all the different conversations that we are constantly privy to because we're having them all the time. This is our world. This is our lane. And so there's so many conversations that are like normal to us, but really helpful for other people to hear and to be exposed to. Yeah. But now also we want to get sometimes more granular and to talk about topics that are a direct response to the questions that you have in your heart. And we know this because of data, because we just know you, this kind of stuff. So that's what today is, which is looking at the 3 hidden triggers of why people typically relapse, because it's a mystery. It's interesting how much of a mystery people are to themselves and they don't even know it. There's like that thing of like knowing what you know, knowing the stuff that you don't know. Like I can tell you for sure, I don't know much about astrophysics. It's not a shocker. I thought you'd fall out of your seat, but don't know much about that. But then there's the things that you don't know about that you don't know about. Right. And so I think yourself is one of the things that you don't know about. Like people are like, yeah, I'm me. This is what I do. It's like, but why do you do that? Like, oh, because that's what I do. Yeah, but why? They don't know like what motivates them. Like why do they, especially with addiction, it's confounding. People have no idea. Like I woke up and I said I was going to do all this stuff and I didn't do it. And I said I wasn't going to do all this stuff and I totally did them all. Like, how am I so out of control? It makes no logical sense because we're not logical creatures. We're spiritual, emotional creatures, right? So we want to help you to understand these, at least 3. We'll start with 3 today. And if you guys like this, we can always do more. We can do a deeper dive.
Sure.
You ready? You buckled up, Benji? You ready to go?
We're talking about relapsing. Relapsing with what now, Andrew? Relapsing in general?
Oh, with sugar.
Sugar relapse?
Just general pain and stuff. No, we talk about sexuality, sexual integrity. So when
pornography.
People relapse, it means that they're relapsing into their old selves, their unconscious selves, which typically includes porn, scrolling, not one scroll, but for a while, and often then including masturbation into the mix. But we've also gone more broadly to talk about, it's just when you start walking away from the person that you want to be, right? Your ideal self. And there's, porn is the result, right? And so there's other things that you've already done to allow that to even occur in the first place. And again, for most people, it's all just a mystery.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. There are people that will relate to this. If you're part of the small percentage of people that don't struggle with porn and masturbation or sexual fantasy, don't leave that one out. Then you can extrapolate I think at this point, if you're listening to High Noon in our podcast, you know very well what your addictions are, your escapism of choices. And so just project your thing. But this will apply to everyone, regardless of what it is. Sugar, pornography, addiction to scrolling, right? You know anybody that says pornography?
I know exactly who you're
Yes,
doing
okay.
when you do that. I know exactly.
It's it's the
I
greatest
know you, Benji. I
pronunciation.
know you.
It's the greatest pronounced word in all of history. And
It's
so yeah,
swapping an O for an E, right? Pornography.
just removing the vowel altogether.
I like it.
So
Yeah,
there was a
no, for the core crowd too, right?
yeah.
For the core crowd, it's really important that we're speaking to you and we care about you and we know that there's not a young person out there today who's not slightly addicted to their phones, who's even addicted to gossip or some form of
Mm,
denigrating themselves or others, which is preventing
mm,
you from being a free person, right? All these things, the core crowd, it's again being aligned with your ideal self so that you could be a marriageable person, confidently going to the blessing saying, I can do this. This is
yeah.
becoming more difficult for people. They're more scared to show up and say yes at the blessing, right? So for
Yeah.
you, we got you too.
Shout out to a guy that I met in Korea just last week who got blessed. He's a high nooner, a core person, an ascend person, and he listens to every episode, Andrew. He says that you and I live in his car on the way to work. And so it's always nice. It's nice to hear somebody that listens to every single, like that means we're going deep with people as opposed to like everybody's listening. It's like this person listens to every,
Sure.
and he's the right kind of guy that we want listening to this. So shout out to you, brother. Yeah, so let's do it.
I think in high school, some people predicted that I'd live in somebody's car. So it's just the fulfillment of a prophecy.
FedEx.
Great.
There it is.
Yeah. I live in your car. I live in people's minds. I'm not proud of that fact, but your and my voices are the actual literal voice of some people's conscience.
Mm.
It's very interesting. Sorry, not sorry. All right, so let's get into these three. Let's start with the first one, Benji. You got this first one because this is all
First
about
one
you.
is emotional discomfort. It's the stress, the loneliness, the shame, boredom, anxiety, rejection, moments of just very brief discomfort that people don't want to feel, don't want to accept, don't want to live in. And so they escape very quickly, I might add, to some sort of stimuli, some screen. And usually in many cases, it's porn or it's scrolling or it's the refrigerator. Yeah. Discomfort.
So it's been a long time, to be honest, since I've really been a part of that world watching porn. Luckily, I got out of it. Back in 2009 is when I joined the church. I just had a really great opportunity to press the reset button hard, to a hard factory reset on my soul. And so I opted out before there was Pornhub and OnlyFans and all this stuff, which is, I would have definitely been a broken person if I got into that. Before I knew anything about God, when I was very secular and atheistic and all this stuff, I remember I was living in Santa Monica, loved it, loved my life, but there's something, I also had like an emptiness in me. And I remember those are the kind of early days before smartphones were a thing. You'd have to have a laptop, take it out and watch some porn. And I just remember afterwards going to bed feeling this giant sense of emptiness. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out, what is that? Like, why do I feel so alone right now? It didn't make sense, right? And a lot of it was just because I didn't understand how to deal with my emotional discomfort at that time. It's not something that I learned. I don't think a lot of people learn it from their parents. They learn avoidance from their parents. They learn how to yell obscenities from their parents, maybe, but they don't learn how to sit in a difficult emotion, right? They don't know how to really slow the world down. I think that's the thing. With emotional discomfort, what we ask and what is the healthy way to do it is to kind of slow things down to figure out what's going on. Because without that, the tendency is to rush through it and try to escape to something else that will help you to avoid feeling those feelings, right? Which could be, I don't like myself today. It could be, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. It could be, I really don't like my spouse. I don't like my parents.
Thoughts.
Whatever it is.
Simple as thoughts. Yeah. Yeah. It could be as simple as thoughts, right? These forms of escapism, addiction, those are the most subtle types. It's just a thought that's recurring. I don't like myself. Don't like my spouse. My life isn't great. I'm behind in life. I'm not doing great in my career. I'm behind. All this is tiny thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. And the more that you think these thoughts, the more that they simply become true. They become reality and they sit in you. Because then all of a sudden, let's say I'm ugly. Let's do that one. Let's run that one. I'm ugly. Then a lot of young people deal with this because of Instagram. You're not thinking about yourself or how you look. You're just living your life. Then you pull out Instagram and then you're
Hmm.
like, I'll never be like that. Everybody's perfect. I'm the worst.
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
absolute reason why it exists, Instagram. And so you have this feeling, I'm ugly, and you kind of sit with it. And then you go and you kind of see yourself in the mirror, or you just start thinking about your future. If you're young and single, could anybody really love me? Right? I'm not perfect. I'm blah, blah, blah. That thought doesn't live just in your head. When you focus on a negative thought long enough, it sits somewhere in your body. For me, really negative thoughts are always in my stomach. It's this kind of a combination of the feeling like when you're nervous and anxious combined lives in my stomach. When I'm really depressed or when I feel lost, that's where it exists in my stomach. So a thought repeated enough turns into a feeling, and that feeling exists somewhere in you. And you repeat that feeling long enough and it just becomes part of who you are, becomes how you identify. You don't say, I think I look ugly today. You say, I am ugly in that scenario, or I am stupid, or I am incapable of getting my life under control, you know? Then it has real estate in you. It's like it's setting up shop in you. It becomes a vendor inside of
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
doling out
I got you.
flyers to people. Hey, everybody, check it out. This guy's ugly, right? And then
Hmm.
it starts to spread.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had, when I was in Korea, I was being driven by my brother-in-law. So Hitoe's sister's husband. They just had a baby and we were visiting in Incheon. They live in Incheon. So right before heading home. And he drove us to the airport from his apartment and he was just honking at everyone and just getting really angry. Not in like a, rageful, like red-blooded American, driver, like a
I saw that
Korean,
yesterday.
just it is very different. Like the American driver is very angry, and the Korean driver is just more like Italian. It's more like Italian anger, just like hot, and then it's cool. It's just up and down, and then they
Sure.
forget about it. So he's just like honking, and we're in the car, just like, where did this rage come from so
Mm.
suddenly? And so he was clearly, and that's in my mind. I was like, he's clearly experiencing discomfort, which is probably feeling insecure about driving us. Like people are slow and we got to the airport. And so he was feeling uncomfortable and it came out as anger. And that's it. Whereas like that's a very, very strong like emotion that people feel, or anger is a form of escapism to not feel the emotion because it's like it's a mask for what they're really feeling. Because they'll say, "Oh, I'm
Sure.
angry," because that's the ultimate justification. I'm angry because of them. I'm angry because this
Yep.
person is driving too slow. But that's a mask. That's just trivializing what is really going on is he's feeling some kind of insecurity or fear. He's got a fear going on. And if he just kind of sat with, like you're saying, sat with the emotion and just figured out, okay, what's going on here, then he wouldn't be so angry, right? So I feel you. I
That's a great
100%,
point.
yeah. I feel the body thing. Like, I mean, anger is, I guess for a lot of people, it's like in the head. It's like, like
Sure.
you can see somebody's head about to pop off when they're really angry. I feel just like for me, I think I think if I feel anxiety about something, I become hyper vigilant and controlling. And so, and I can notice this when I'm really just like busy. Like I just like thinking about this and I know that I need to cool, like just kind of enjoy and be present with my family, but I'm like thinking about work. And so I feel it a lot in my eyes. I'm just like looking around. Just my eyes are like
Uh-huh.
darting around back and forth. And I'm just like kind of this intense character in our house. And Hitu
Tweaking.
is
It's called tweaking.
tweaking. I'm just like looking around and Hitu is like, can you like what are you looking at? Can you just chill? And I noticed that because I don't want to be like that, especially when I'm at home. And like I want to be present,
For sure.
but my mind is feeling like I need to work or I need to have control over something because it's like I feel unsettled in some capacity. So that I
Hmm.
would say is probably anxiety. Yeah, that's anxiety and my that's the discomfort I'm feeling in my escape. And that's where it starts is just feeling like I got to control something. And then if I don't feel like I can control it, then that's where I get frustrated or like agitated at somebody or something going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, in the moment, it's really good to talk about it, or just to like acknowledge it. Definitely, I lost my cool last week. I seldom do, but
Hmm.
if I ever do, it's because either I'm in a government building or in the airport. These are my two Achilles heels. And last week, we went to go get a passport. And it was such a ridiculous situation where they would only speak to you if you knocked on a door and then they'd poke their head out, yell at you something, and then slam the door. And they said, you got to finish this thing. And so we're like, you didn't tell us this. And he's like, yeah, you should have known. And then they slammed the door. She said, no, before she did, she's like, knock on the door when you're ready. And so we're like, okay. So we finished something and then we knocked on the door. Another lady came up. She's like, don't knock on the door. And we're like, oh my God. Like I was already queued up. I was like, because they were yelling at my wife. And I was like, oh my God, you just yelled at my wife?
They're testing you.
And then they slammed the door again. We knocked again and then again and again and again. And then we started really knocking. And then my eldest son was like, are you looking for that lady? I saw her walking away. She walked out of the building. They just left. They left us there. They were done. They stopped communicating or acknowledging our existence. And so I was like, in that moment, if I was really in control or like healthy, I would have just said, guys, I'm really upset. We should just go. Just come back. And I couldn't. I looked through the little hole in the door because there's like it's those double doors where you can open halves. And I looked through and I couldn't see anyone. And I was just like, you suck. I couldn't not say it. And I was gonna make a scene. I was just like, I gotta get out of here. So we left. Because I just am when people don't treat me like a human, I can't just sit there anymore. Like it's like it boils my blood so much.
So
like,
yelling you suck is not creating a scene for you.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a full, I said it loud enough for them to hear, but not to stop everything. Cause I was about to go on a soliloquy about how I'm glad that the postal system is dying. And I was going to go on this really personal, and I stopped myself. I got out of there. But the point is my family was there and then we unpacked it later. And I was like, we even went out to Whole Foods after to get some Olippops, sit and talk about it and just kind of like, look, I'm so sorry, but this is like, explaining what's going on and whatever, not justifying it, but just saying, yeah, I should have prepared better, this kind of stuff. But in the moment, that's like one way to handle it. But I think what listeners are like, you guys out there who are, if you're in chorus, and what really eats away at you is not those blips of frustration in traffic or whatever. It's the sitting at home with a feeling of being inadequate in some respect, especially towards relationships and the blessing or faith or these kind of things, where you're just left with a ton of questions and the feeling that you're not enough. You're not worthy, whatever it is. And this is where the skill set of connecting and unpacking these, starting with yourself, starting to kind of slow things down and be like, what's really going on? Starting through prayer and trying to sort through the contents of your heart. Because there's thinking, but prayer is more like going over like, what is your heart thinking? Not your brain, but your heart. And then with somebody else to kind of unpack, like, this is what I'm going through, to hear a different perspective. Have new air breathed into this kind of thought process, right? But not to escape it. And that's all addictions are, is the narrowing of what gives you pleasure. I heard this definition the other day. It's like the narrowing of what gives you pleasure is the definition of addiction. So that like fewer things bring you pleasure, but conversely means that more and more things bring you anxiety, right? So it's like more things in life make you feel off and less things make you feel okay or numb or whatever. And that's exactly what people have with their phones. And so to have emotional discomfort isn't to like, okay, I'll just be sad for a week, but it's to not let sadness be the focus, but to talk with it and to understand it again by yourself through thinking, oh, what's going on? Why do I think I'm this sad? What's going on? Talking with God through prayer, and then talking with people, either an elder, a family member, a counselor, a mentor, somebody to help make it more three-dimensional, because you will always be stuck in your little thoughts on repeat until you break that pattern by exposing these thoughts to somebody else. They can break that loop, break that cycle. And now you have more thoughts to consider. And that's this much healthier, because I was thinking about this, I think it was last night or the night before. I just decided to sit down in the shower, because normally I'm just really like have a shower quickly and get out. But last night I just wanted to like, there's a snowstorm here randomly yesterday. It was crazy. We've already had cherry blossoms, and that's living in the mountains. So I just wanted to get warm. So I sat in the shower and I realized, God, I'm thinking about the same stuff over and over again. So I just like looked at a freckle on my leg and I was like, I got freckles. And I just want to like to have a new thought, But this is our plight unless we expand our thinking by talking to somebody else who can introduce new things to think about. We'll just be stuck thinking about the stupidest stuff that's many times harmful to us, unless we have a way to break that cycle.
Yeah, I see that as the way to gain awareness, self-awareness, is when you talk about it, because then you can see it. Because like you said earlier, we assume that what's going on in here is correct. We assume our beliefs are correct.
Yeah.
That's why we
truth.
believe it. You know, like
Yeah.
limiting beliefs are so freaking notorious because we assume they're true. That's the definition of a belief. And
Yeah.
so if you can say it out loud to someone, like in community and group, then it's like all of a sudden you're seeing it. I don't know if anyone's had the experience of like really struggling with like, do I do this? Do I do that? I don't know, like dilemmas. And then as soon as you say it to somebody, you're like, oh, I know what to do. Like this makes sense. I've had that so many times. Like talking to my parents about it, my wife, just somebody. So that's like a level of awareness, which brings us to the second point, Drewmanship.
Yeah, is the loss of awareness, which is where we're at. It's the unconscious. I've heard that they've studied this, and it's like we're living 95% of our days unconsciously, right? Like when you get up, how you walk, when you eat, when you pick up your phone, how you get to work, what you're doing when you're driving, if you drive or on the bus or whatever. It's all automated. You're on autopilot for the most part.
Yeah.
And so even though you might be a certain amount of days old, you've actually just relived the same day thousands of times in many cases.
Quick pause. If you're serious about your future blessing, but not really preparing for it, then this is your moment. Don't do it alone, guys. Go to highnoon.org.
So when you feel stuck, it's largely because you are just repeating the same thing. So of course, same thoughts, same feelings, same results.
Yeah.
You're stuck. Yeah. So no pause. And that's another repercussion of autopilot is like cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. You don't see, there's no distance or thought. It's just like, I'm hungry, so I eat. What do you eat? Whatever's around. It's not a part of a plan. It's just reacting. That's all unconscious. You do not want, you want to, anyway. Do you have something to say? I feel like I've been talking.
Awareness is freaking hard, dude. I mean, I think I'm pretty self-aware, which is exactly what an unself-aware person would say. And so, I'm like in this loop in my meta head.
Benji, you have a giant booger on your nose right now.
Oh man. I did a whole meeting last week and nobody freaking told me this before Korea, where I was in space, in outer space, but I turned on the green screen, which turns my entire face into outer space. All right. So you can imagine having a meeting with me and like my background is normal and I'm just outer space and I can't see myself because I always turn my self view off in Zoom and nobody told me this, right? So awareness. Thanks guys. Jeez. Okay.
Was I in that meeting? I don't remember.
No, you would have said, you would have said something because I know that you would hate it.
I would have asked if you're going through a midlife crisis or something.
I know you would hate that if you were
full quirky.
Anyways.
I wouldn't hate it. I would just be like, is there something you gotta say?
No. I mean, you would hate if you were in outer space, a whole meeting, like a serious meeting, and nobody told you.
I was a fox once because they have avatars that you can be, and my kids were using that because they were making YouTube videos, and I wanted them to be anonymous. And then, I showed up to a meeting and I was a fox, and I didn't know it because I had the self-view off too. And then people were like, "Ha ha, Andrew." I'm like, "What?" Like, very funny, Andrew. I was like, "I don't know what's happening right now. Am I in trouble?"
You're just funny, a funny face. That's all.
Yeah, nice face, weirdo. I was like, why is everybody bullying me?
What are they saying? So self-awareness. I believe that if you have self-awareness, you can't really fail in life. Like it's an unlock for so much goodness, but it's also notoriously hard to do because you see it everywhere, from freaking politics to the way people drive. Like unconsciousness is everywhere. It's plaguing the world. And I don't say that in like a judgment. It's like I have this desire in me to help. Like I really want self-awareness to exist in the world. People just to look at themselves because it drives me crazy when people are assuming like, oh yes, I'm right, or assuming like, oh yes, I'm this way because I am this way, and I watch porn because of this, and I know that. It's like have some self-awareness. Or people drive unconsciously, just have some self-awareness when you're driving. Do things intentionally. Or politics. It's really maddening. So what's the secret, Andrew? How do people develop awareness?
Quarterly system. Work on stuff. This is part of a North Star goal. You custom build yourself. And now this can be a bit of an obsession and an addiction in and of itself. I really dislike Brian Johnson. I believe everything he's doing is fake, and there's plenty of evidence. There's deep dives. I've seen deep dive videos where he's falsified a lot of the data, actually. But he measures everything. We were at Costco the other day, and I'm starting to measure things more because something's askew in my body, and I'm trying to figure out what. So I'm counting my steps, counting my calories more. But I was on the precipice of buying one of those Aura rings. I've seen those for years, but I realized I don't want to measure everything. Like that's micromanaging too much. And now you're in your head and you're worried about everything. I don't want that. I'm not saying anything about people who do, but for me, I really don't want that right now. But I do think it's super helpful to work on things, not everything all at once, but things that are important to you now. And so for instance, like I realized that my walking, I've been changing for the past 3 or 4 months. Every time I walk, I've been changing how I step because I have naturally like duck feet or like out pointing feet. And this is actually no good for your hips and for like longitude. And it's definitely not good for athleticism. So I'm learning how to kind of correct my feet so that I have more step on my toes rather and like kind of like straight footed. I did a lot of research on this and like to the level where I'm very conscious of every time you and I just had a meeting. I was walking and I was minding how my feet were the entire time. I've been doing this consistently because it's connected to my overall health. But I've realized if you try to change too many things at once, it becomes overwhelming and you quit everything. But what do you want to become conscious of is the question. So it's kind of like the inverse of what are you struggling with? Struggling with your phone? Become increasingly more conscious of how you use your phone. When do you use it? Your phone will tell you exactly when do you use it the most. Which apps do you go to the most? You start to review and say, do I want this or do I want something better? Do I want to use my phone less? Okay. Make it harder for yourself to access your phone during certain times of the day. And when you are on your phone, what do you want to do on it? Delete all the other apps if you want. There's all sorts of blockers that you can use, but it's based on you curating your phone experience. And I used to talk about this maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I used to use this terminology, but we want you to curate your life, curate your spiritual life, your mental life, your physical life, because that means like you're doing things with intentionality for a specific result. Because to do things intentionally is great, but if it's not connected to like a specific result, then it won't stick. You'll go unconscious again, right? But if you're creating a life, your ideal self, it's a really fun game because you're like, oh, I don't like my interaction with my phone. I don't like my interaction with my bed. I don't like my interaction with food. It can all be customized. It can all be curated little by little so that things become habits. And this is what I was going to say earlier that I cut myself off. You want to be unconscious. It's just naturally, we're going to be unconscious 95% of the day, but why not up level all of your unconscious habits so that it's like, okay, I'm going to upgrade all my habits, then go unconscious for a while and then upgrade them and then go unconscious. That's how we're supposed to be. You're not supposed to think about everything all the time. It's exhausting. But if you notice, okay, my food habits are really bad. I'm eating a lot of junk food. Tighten that up until it becomes normalized and then set it on autopilot for a bit. And then a few months later, check on it again. And then if you want to up level. And this is the power of a North Star goal and a time period. So like 3 months, we always do quarters or cycles, right?
What is a unconscious habit that you have that's really good?
That's really good.
Yeah. A
I
healthy
stretch
unconscious habit.
the first thing in the morning and last thing at night, no matter what, no matter where I am. I have a really good morning routine now, apple cider vinegar and water out of the gate. And then like if I have meetings, coffee, I have routines just to feel like really great. Now staring at the sun in the morning and doing these kind of movements to kind of wake myself up, open my lymphatic system. It's all part of, I've been incorporating these things and testing things out, but now I have like a really good, like first thing, last thing routines.
I don't know what kind of sun you've got in Colorado, but we don't do that here in North Carolina.
You're supposed to, I mean,
stare at the sun.
well, it's just a thousands of year old tradition. It's to help your circadian rhythm.
I've never heard it. I've never heard.
Yeah. So you look at the sun. Ideally, you want to get outside in the first 15 minutes of waking and walk. I can't do that all the time. Like this morning, I had a meeting at 7 a.m. So I wasn't going to go for a really long walk. So what I did is I can see the sun. I opened the window and I first sat and I just kind of meditated and then prayed while looking at the sun. And then I started doing these movements. There's this series of movements that you do to open up your lymphatic system, but also to fix your circadian rhythm, something I really got to work on, which is like when the sun comes up, you come up. And when the sun goes down, you have a winding down routine.
Got it.
What about you?
I mean, I've heard of, going outside. I do that too in the morning, just not the staring at the sun part. So let us know, guys. Why don't you guys go outside and stare at the sun and let us know how that went, if there was painful or joyful or whatever. Unconscious habits. I think that I generally will always, first thing that comes to mind is I always take responsibility for things. I think that's a good habit I have. I've always had, like getting blessed and the kids and mistakes. It's kind of like my first thought is like, okay, what could I do better? Almost to a negative degree. If there are some times where I'm like objectively like I did nothing wrong, in like a relationship or a conversation, but I'm always like, oh man, like I really screwed that up. What did I do? What did I do wrong? In this conversation. So I think it served me really well to just be like, okay, what can I? That's like a level of maybe awareness I have is just a desire to always be like, what could I improve? How can I be better? But that's like a very internal thing that's happening. Physically, I go to the gym every day. It's just auto. So like, for example, we had 2 meetings an hour from each other, right? This morning we were both Andrew and I were both in the meeting together, and I had an hour to go to the gym and work out before the next meeting. And it wasn't even a question of like, do I have time? Do I feel like I was just like, I'm going to go. Cause I just, that's just what I do. And I even have to like put a break on it on Sunday because it's kind of I need to rest physically, and also it's overkill to go on Sundays, but I try not to go on Sundays.
That's the Lord's day, bruh, not your body's day.
Yeah, but I kind of just do it, and sometimes it's just part of it. So yeah, it's a good habit I have.
Yeah, I think honestly speaking, everybody, don't worry about fixing everything all at once or changing everything. Just really 1 or 2 things at a time, incorporating new habits, seeing the world anew, updating your hard drive. Your phone, my phone seems to need an update every couple months, right? And why does it say? It says, what do you get with this update? Like iOS 16.7.8 or whatever. It's like fixing some bugs, making things run more smoothly and all this. How about us? Like it's updating our own operating systems. Really important, but it doesn't try to fix too much at once. Otherwise your phone won't have any more storage, especially iPhones. But it's just not necessary, and it's not how humans work. It's kind of traumatic if you do too much at once, and it's very unlikely to stick. So pick some things, and then that's the whole purpose of the North Star goal, is to enhance your life so that you become more of your ideal self, so that you stop wanting to escape your life because you love your life. Let's go to the last one, Benji. You got that? You got that on lock, or do you want me to say it?
The last hidden reason that people relapse is small compromises beforehand. So small actions, micro decisions that lead to a bigger relapse. So it's scrolling, it's the fantasy, right? In your thoughts, isolating yourself, staying up late, harmless content, quote unquote, harmless. So it's the things that, in my view, honestly, people should see that as the relapse. And I think when people change the mindset from like, oh, I relapse when I watch porn or binge eat or whatever, not to shame those micro like beforehand things, but to really take them with seriousness and be like, if I scroll when I know I don't want to, or when I isolate myself when I'm feeling discomfort instead of connecting with someone, that should be like, okay, that was the mistake. Not did you watch porn? Did you not? It was like the mistake was I had a lapse of judgment, and I did the thing that I committed not to do. And so I've seen so much success with people and failure, but mostly success when people just identify these micro things way earlier, way before they're even close to, jumping off a cliff, and just being like, hey, this is my new determination. And that's like, it applies to, and it's kind of fun because there's skills that we need for life, not just to beat an addiction or to stop relapsing. We need the skill of self-awareness, of our discomfort, to have self-awareness, to just decide to do something different instead of those micro things that usually lead us to a bad decision. It's like everyone needs to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a form of madness. I really do see the collective madness that we've inherited from the fall and just from a broken world that, again, people will watch porn and they're like, how did I end up doing this? And you're like, well, what were you doing right before? It's like, I was on Instagram. And what were you doing before that? I was sitting hating myself. It's like, you don't see the pattern here? Because imagine this. It sounds like a ridiculous metaphor, but this is me thinking about it on the spot. Let's say you have a habit of getting into trouble with the law or your neighbors because you keep on walking around your neighborhood in a Batman outfit, just like clanging some drums, doing some weird stuff. The problem isn't for that person that they left the house wearing a Batman suit, clanging cymbals or drums or something like that. The point is, like, how did you end up in this Batman costume in the first place? Why are you picking up those drums again? Like, there's a lot of indication that you're going to leave the house wearing a Batman costume with some cymbals in your hand. Like, it's if somebody else lived with that person, let's say that's the husband, and the wife is like, honey, I see you putting on the cape again.
I
honey,
just like
you're putting
Batman.
on the mask. Yeah. It's like, I know where this is headed, honey. I see you reaching
Just
for those
preparing for
cymbals.
Halloween. That's all.
And then he leaves the house. He's like, I don't know how I left the house in this stuff. It's like, it happened when you started putting on the suit, man. And again, sounds stupid and ridiculous, but that is the human condition. Is like, okay, where's my hand going right now? Why is it reaching for that phone? Why am I randomly looking around for different apps? Why is my eye really focused on that Instagram symbol? Why am I scrolling for this long? Why do I keep on looking at more sexualized content? Why am I clicking on these links to go to this thing? Like, there's so many indicators that you're walking towards a cliff. And so jumping off the cliff was never the issue. It was, why are you walking towards a cliff when there's an entire world that's waiting for you? That's not a cliff. That's a life, right? But it's hard to see when you don't. I really like that idea that the true transgression is not the big one. It's all the little ones that led to the big one. And again, not to judge yourself, but to start to correct these behaviors earlier on. Because what we always want to guide you back to is, what do I want right now? I'm reaching out for my phone. What is it that I'm looking for? I need to talk to somebody. I'm lonely.
Yeah.
Or, I've been sitting in front of my computer for way too long. I need to get up. I need to walk, These are all ways to roads back to you so you can understand yourself.
Yeah, those are the moments of connection, because there's the massive mistake of, when people are about to jump or have jumped, and that's when people will usually reach out. The whole idea of accountability partners in the usual sense that people usually use them is they call when they're about to relapse. That's, generally accepted as that's when you call an accountability partner.
Yeah.
The worst time. Absolutely the worst.
Call the hotline.
It's the worst time to call somebody. The right time is when you're about to do these micro things, these things that lead to it. That's a concept that few people practice, but once you start doing it, and it's not always like, hey, I'm struggling, I'm about to go on Instagram. It's like, I really am just feeling this discomfort, uncomfortable emotion. And I feel like I'm feeling this discomfortable emotion, and I go to my phone, and I'm just noticing that, and this is an indicator that I need to connect, right? And that could be with anybody. That kind of stuff you can do with any human being. The porn stuff is like, not many people have. Most people have 0 people they can call when they're struggling with porn. That's most people. If you're lucky, you have 1 person, but you have unlimited people to talk about if you're feeling an emotion. So super, super simple concepts here, but will change your life forever.
Yeah. And that's the myth bust, that to reframe it, that people are like, I need to call when I'm struggling, right? But the whole purpose of this is to call people when you're about to struggle or when you're not struggling, but when you're just feeling, because we're meant to be connected.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, I'm feeling good today. That's great. Share that with somebody. I'm feeling really great today. And ideally, we have friends in our life that'll celebrate that with you. And at High Noon, we want to be mentors too. We have a mentorship program with Ascend where people connect with us about the highs and the lows, right? But the point is to connect with people. Oh, I'm feeling sad. Cool. Tell somebody, talk to somebody. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling ambivalent. I'm feeling very apathetic. I'm feeling confused. These are all opportunities to converse with other humans. And that's the whole point of life, is to be connected. It's not like, I'll figure it out by myself because I'm tough. It's like, no, it doesn't matter. Even if you can, which is not the point. The point is to connect as much as possible, as much as you need. But especially when you're feeling an emotion. Again, I feel like I don't believe I have any data to support this, but from what I understand of the divine principle and psychology, the first thing is not to always run to somebody else to help you figure things out. But both are extreme. One is dependency on other people, and one is to be overly independent, right? Those are the two extremes. So to have a nice balance is to spend some time with yourself. Again, in thought, reflection, what's going on right now? Where am I feeling these emotions? Like doing some sort of inventory of yourself, and then having some sort of conversation through prayer, through like sitting and just feeling and trying to converse with something higher than yourself, and then talking to somebody else. I think that's the order, is like you're coming to somebody with some level of awareness and self-reflection so that you can unpack what are you feeling. Because a lot of times, if you don't spend any time with yourself and you just go straight to somebody else, you'd be like, I'm feeling stuff, help me. They're like, yeah, but what are you feeling? It's like a range of emotions. Like that's hard for them to help. But if you've sat in it for a little bit and be like, oh, I'm feeling pretty sad. What's going on? I think it's because of this. That's a good foundation that ends talk to somebody. Like, I think I'm sad because of this situation. It's a great starting point for a conversation.
Yeah, it also dispels this myth that there's no one around. That's a big thing for people. Oh, there's no one around, and so therefore it's justifiable to relapse. You know, it's like, oh, it was the middle of the night, I was triggered, or I felt discomfort, and then there's no one around. And so, well, you're always available to you. God is always available to you. Your journal is always available. And so there's really no excuse. And then, so with some understanding of ourselves, we can present as soon as possible. Like ideally we have so many people in our lives, right? That's a big thing I hear from people. It's like, I don't have anybody to talk about. I'm like, come on, seriously, like there's unlimited. Your neighbor, one of your neighbors probably in all likelihood.
I don't know about that. Talking about porn? I don't know.
No. That's my point. You don't have to talk about porn. There should be at least one person in everyone's life. If you're really struggling with an addiction, a nameable, identifiable addiction, there should be one person at least that really is there for you. Like within a day's notice, you can talk to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we all have access to talk about the discomfort of emotions. We all do. And so that's what I mean. Like probably one of your neighbors. I'm not saying it should be, but
no, I think my neighbors all have addictions because I just smell all their addictions all day.
Yeah, but you know, like, you know, but you've got people, you've got, you know, a house full of humans. I mean, not your kids, but your wife, and like,
yeah,
but
I'll ask my 7-year-old, save me from myself.
Hey, I talk to my son
sometimes. WhatsApp is also
Yeah.
really underrated. To leave a voice note, you know, to really experiment with like, hey, because it's a way that even if you're in a different time zone, or even if it's at 3 a.m. for somebody else and you want to communicate with them, they should have their phone off anyway. But it's a way to get something out urgently that they don't have to necessarily do anything with it, but just to know that it's out there is a huge part of it, is just putting it out there. And ideally they'll respond, you know, in a relatively appropriate amount of time. But yeah, there's really no excuse. These are all justifications. Yeah, but we do have to go. I physically have to go.
Nice.
But I think we've also covered enough terrain. It's been kind of a deep dive. But like I said in the beginning of the episode, if you like these kind of episodes, or you have a topic that you really want us to speak to, let us know. We're happy to curate the podcast for yourself.
Just for you.
Thank you, everybody. See you around.
Bye. A strong marriage doesn't start at the blessing. It starts right now in how you live, how you grow, and who you surround yourself with. If you've been passive, unsure, or just hoping things will work out in your future blessing, this is your chance to change that. To prepare with purpose, to walk with others who are taking this seriously. If that's the kind of foundation you want in your future, guys, check us out. Join our community at highnoon.org. Totally free. We will see you there.